Hey guys, welcome back, and in today's video, we're tackling the top 5 best Total War DLC campaigns ever released by CA. These are basically expansion-style pieces of content that either completely revamp the game or add brand new campaigns, and the DLCs I've chosen here today after careful consideration are the absolute top 5 in my opinion. There will be some surprises and some not so surprises, but overall I think you'll agree. So let's get started. Coming in at number 5 is the Total War Saga Troy Mythos and Historical Mode DLC, which essentially adds 2 new campaigns. They both use the same map, factions, and to be honest, I don't count the Historical Mode here. It's pretty much a stripped down version. What I really want to focus on is the Mythos campaign, because what CA did with this is a complete 180 to how they launched Troy by giving it some much needed identity. Before Mythos, Troy was basically a bland and confused campaign, stuck between kinda being true to historical accounts of the time period, while adding fantastical elements in a truth behind the myth approach, which definitely shot itself in the foot right from the get-go. Players found these non-mythical, mythical units totally lacking, the single entity units harkening back to Warhammer, and hand in hand in a historical-ish setting, it just didn't work as well as we hoped. All of this was finally resolved though with the launch of Mythos, which I think was done triumphantly. Non-mythical units were given a complete makeover for the better, a brilliant array of new mythical quests, mechanics, units, gods, battle maps were added in to add proper context and flavor to the whole campaign, and all the ridiculous non-mythical mythical units suddenly became true to their stories. Now, Troy Mythos isn't a proper DLC campaign, not like the rest that I have on this list, but I think it still deserves this spot more than others. Despite the price, which isn't all that bad when you get it on somewhere like GOG or a big Steam sale, Mythos made Troy worth it, at least for a few campaigns, and it's not perfect by any means, but it definitely gave Troy the identity it so deserved right from the start, and that's why it's on this list at number 5. Moving on to number 4, we have a Rome 2 DLC tie with Hannibal at the Gates and Caesar in Gaul, and there are tons of great reasons why these two campaigns are the best in Rome 2. Not only do they unlock the playable factions in the Grand Campaign as well, but they add brand new campaign maps with unique storylines, factions, units, and interesting AI personalities that I think make them really quite difficult. Also, just an honorable mention here to Rise of the Republic, as it's quite an underrated campaign for Rome 2 as well. Both of these campaigns offer brand new time periods and conflicts that are simply too good to pass up and that were implemented really well. Hannibal at the Gates is set during the Second Punic War, and as either Rome or as Hannibal's Carthage, you play a showdown of the two greatest Mediterranean military superpowers of the time. And Caesar in Gaul is basically your chance at playing the famous Julius Caesar and taking his Roman legions to invade Gallic tribes. The context to this content, the flavor of new mechanics is also present, which is why they're on this list. 12 and 24 turns per year respectively mean seasons and weather effects have a big impact on the way you strategize. Technology has a lot of options for improving diplomacy for once, which is different and interesting, and the more focused Western Mediterranean map of Hannibal and Gaul, of course, really lends itself to the provincial system newly introduced in Rome 2. Sure, there are some things that aren't that great, like the historical battles for one, but overall, reenacting the Second Punic War as either Hannibal marching African elephants across the Alps or reenacting Caesar's invasion of Gaul is just such a good, memorable couple of campaigns, and that's why they both deserve 4th place spot on this list. Next up, and coming in at 3rd, we have the Medieval 2 Kingdoms expansions with the Britannic, Americas, Teutonic, and of course the fan favorite Crusades campaigns. While Medieval 2 and its campaigns are a little dated compared to modern Total Wars, the new content here, the factions, units, maps, mechanics, everything CA released with these are pure gold. And I mean, more than anything, the modding potential that got unlocked with Kingdoms led to some of the best mods we've ever had in this series as well. But mods aside, all of these expansions were so insanely impactful at the time, they of course deserve a place on this list. The Americas campaign added a new challenge for players, with the various European powers struggling to take over the New World, or of course the local civilizations that fought back. And as the player, two hugely different cultures clashing in this way was something we never really quite saw before in the series. It was refreshing and it was so much fun. The Crusades campaign, on the other hand, basically unlocked our wildest Medieval 2 dreams. In this expansion, you had this beautiful map with the Christian kingdoms fending off the Muslim invaders, and later on, of course, the Mongols as well. And lest we forget the crumbling Byzantines as they fight off both the Sultanate of Rum and Venetian armies. It was just such a crazy good campaign. And finally, of course, we have the Teutonic and Britannic campaigns. I mean, I'll never forget my first Scotland playthrough as I took William Wallace to steamroll England for freedom, of course, and equally my very first Teutonic playthrough as I struggled to conquer the pagan nations of the east, fend off the Mongols in the south, and was swiftly betrayed by jealous allies in Poland and the Holy Roman Empire. The Medieval 2 Kingdoms expansion holds a special place in the hearts of Total War players everywhere, and that's why it deserves to be on this list today. Now, at number 2, and let's be honest guys, very close to being number 1, is the Total War Attila expansion, Age of Charlemagne. Not only did AOC add a brand new campaign with some really fun factions and new mechanics, Age of Charlemagne felt like a brand new game compared to Attila, much in the way that Fall of the Samurai felt like for Shogun 2. And in many ways, Charlemagne and the time period this DLC was set in felt almost like a spiritual successor to Medieval 2. The DLC campaign introduced tons of bug fixing, optimization, general polish that Attila just plain lacked, optimization especially. The AI actually behaves quite proactively aggressive, often challenging you in ways diplomatically, militarily you didn't expect, with armies that are well composed for a change. From the aesthetics of the map, the beautiful new UI and unit cards, the variety of playable factions, Charlemagne to me and many players out there is the closest thing we've had basically to a Medieval 3 Total War. For me though, the most important reason why it's here is because it's polished and it's fun. The AI is challenging and smart enough to make each playthrough feel a bit different and exciting. Mechanics like war wariness gives your decisions context and real impact on your overall strategy, and from food production to public order to seasonal effects, things are engaging for the player in a way that is just really fun. Not many DLC campaigns balance all of this so well, which is why AOC deserves the second place spot on this list. Finally, coming in at number 1, and you guessed it, it is Shogun 2 Fall of the Samurai. Of course, FOTS is its own standalone game now, but it was released as an expansion campaign, and many people still treat it that way. It's regarded as the best Total War DLC ever made, despite using pretty much the same campaign map and similar factions because, well, it's on Shogun 2, which is one of the best Total War games period, and CA just did such a good job with it. It's the most modern Total War setting to date, and so it was up against similar games like Empire and Napoleon in terms of gameplay and features, but it did way better than them in every single way. Brilliant units, both land and naval, make gunpowder warfare and FOTS the best in the series. The presence of Americans, British, and the French add just so much to the flavor of the recruitment and diplomacy systems, and I mean from naval bombardment strikes to first-person interactive control of certain units to tons more unique features in this DLC. Definitely give it good reason to be at the top of this list. Fall of the Samurai is a total conversion to a new time period using the same map, and honestly, CA just blew it out of the water. There's never been a DLC as good as this one. It's well made and polished, the factions are all very replayable, and it's just all extra fun with mods like Darth Mod. Building and technology chains are literally off the chain. Naval combat is my favorite in the series, and the super aggressive AI is just a great breath of fresh air. Total War DLCs rarely get this good, but CA did it. Fall of the Samurai is the best example of a good DLC campaign, and that's why it's at the top of this list today. Overall, Total War DLCs for obvious reasons can be quite hit or miss, but the 5 I've chosen here I think are perfect examples of how good and impactful a DLC campaign can be for a game. Mythos finally gave Troy some identity. Caesar and Gaul and Hannibal at the Gates are great replayable additions to Rome 2. Medieval Kingdoms expanded on an already incredible game. Age of Charlemagne essentially made Attila great again, and Shogun 2 Fall of the Samurai will always be the king of DLC campaigns. And that's it for today, guys. This is the second video in a new series of top 5 lists in Total War. I hope you enjoyed this one and found it informative. If you did, give it a like and drop any thoughts or questions in the comment section below. And let me know if you agree with my top 5 DLC list or if you have other top 5 videos you want to see. Subscribe to the channel for more Total War content just like this. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.